morning, everyone. This is Kaz Weirdness, aka Kaz Windness, here with a art tutorial. And I've never done this before, but you have to start somewhere so you can have something to look back and cringe about, right? So important equipment, lots of art supplies. It doesn't even matter what it is. A waffle, for sure. Coffee. I have a nice foamy milk in this. I recommend. Also, a thrift store witchy mug is a plus if you have it. Alright, so I realize that people with YouTube stations have things like, I don't know, a banner, a logo, something artsy to tell people who they are. So this morning, I drew a little design, nothing too fancy. I didn't fuss about it much. So this is going to be a self-portrait, and I'm going to use some paints, hopefully. These are new gouache paints that I just got, and they're very messy, but the color is really great on them. I just got these from Amazon. So they're messy. I put a little bit of a saran wrappage on them. Oh gosh, I've only used a few of the colors yet. I don't like to waste, so I might just use the stuff that's already on this saran wrap. So that'll happen. And hopefully I'll just shut up and draw, and we'll see how this goes. This is like ketchup. Like, you could dip some fries in here. It would be, yeah, this would be a good prank. Like a, not a very nice prank, and kind of an expensive, wasteful prank, but it would be a good prank. Starting to look like something. I want to get a shirt in here, so I like this as far as a background. So if I did like one side like clouds and another side is like a ledger and background to talk about like being creative and imaginative, but also being, you know, businessy. I think this is something I would like to work with. We are now in Photoshop. So what I've done is I've taken photos of all the pieces that we painted earlier, or I painted earlier. I did this by myself, and I've just put them on layers in Photoshop here. So I have my sketch, I have my painting, and as you can tell, this is not finished at all, but I'm just going to be using the elements of this painting to make everything look like it has a painterly effect, to add some realism to it. These are effects that you can't get just with a Photoshop brush. Okay, we're back again. I'm getting a little closer here. Sometimes it takes copying and pasting and doing some adjusting until I start to like what it's looking like. I just always have to trust that it's going to go somewhere and I'm going to create an effect that I like. One of my favorite things to do in Photoshop when I'm using this collage technique is to take the clone tool and just drop on into something that's textural or interesting and, you know, paint and then layer it up. So I'm copying some of those paint strokes and the textures that I find in the collage and the paper, and then I can just clone stamps, do my selection here, and then just keep on building off of this. And you can get patterny kind of stuff, you can get problematic kind of stuff, but the thing is to transfer over this texture and have something interesting to work with. So that's part of what I'm doing here in this background is, if I can, I'm selecting and using this to build up these colors. I also have a brush, I believe it's called Wet Goo, that mimics paint. And so I'll use that to also look like paint and get up to it. Sometimes I delete the names of my brushes when I select them. But here, this is a grit brush called Wet Goo. And so if I come in here, and when I'm just hitting Alt when I'm selecting a color, and then I'm painting in here, and you'll see that this Wet Goo it lays over itself, so it's getting some of this textural build up, and it kind of swishes together. So like if I were to come in here, then you can see it start to swish together. So brushes will definitely help do that, but I do think there's an advantage in having an actual collage to work from at some point. I mean, these stars are, well, you got to be on the clone tool, but these, look how fantastic these stars are. So I can just take little pieces of these stars and lay them in here, and that's not something that I would necessarily be able to create with a digital brush, but it's a cool effect. So I'm not sure if I'll leave that in there, but you kind of get the idea of why it is that you would use collage. So I will see you guys later. All right, I think I'm just about done here. I'll probably keep on tweaking and then adjusting size as needed. But this is the final portrait. So I've just done a lot of layers with the collage in the background. I've done block letters, and I've done some outlines and some textures, and I've added in waffles to replace circular letters just so it kind of all holds itself together. And I think that's about it. You know, for me, it's just a lot of playing around and adjusting and figuring out what I like, and you go from a sketch to a final piece.